Hey everyone, welcome back to Coffee Break Live, where we get real behind the scenes information about the publishing world and being a full time author. Today, I want you to look behind me. It is gorgeous. It's January 26th, maybe, and we are getting, let's see, it is 65-degree weather. I am in, yeah, a thin layer of clothes. As opposed to, I guess, the last week, it got down to 16 degrees at night and I had to go out and blanket the horses. No big deal there, but it's just a drastic difference between then and today. And, it's just so beautiful. The air smells fresh. Of course, I'm out here in the woods with my dog, and I will try to make it so that you can see my dog. Let's see, camera. Pardon me for a moment. This is my doggie. She's not on a leash and she's being so good. I might have spoken too soon, but I don't think so. She tries so hard to please and she is just the best dog I have ever had. Look how interesting that pattern is on her head. Anyway, I am all about rescue animals, and this dog, let me tell you her story. She came from Hawaii. I was there. I live in North Carolina in the United States. I went to Hawaii to the Kauai Writers Conference. It was magnificent. I want to say it was November, maybe. I was there for 10 days of beautiful luxury. And one of our speakers, who was Sarah Gruen, wrote Water for Elephants. I highly recommend checking out that book. It will pull at several heartstrings, and I wasn't able to watch the movie because it was a little too real for me, but if you don't mind that, it's definitely a great story and worth checking out. Anyway, her agent went to the Humane Society to get her an emotional support dog, and that here is my dog. And she was with us for 10 days. The rumor is that she was running loose in Hawaii. We think that she was a hunting dog. And from what I know about my dog is that she is afraid of gunshot. So I don't know if it's because she was a hunting dog that she's afraid of the gunshot. I know a lot of dogs are afraid of that, and maybe she got scared and she ran off, but she got lost in Hawaii mountains. And it appears to me from her anatomy that it looks like she's had puppies before. So maybe that was when she was lost in the Kauai mountains. I'm not really sure. We're just trying to piece her history together. But she ended up at the Kauai Humane Society, where Sarah Gruen's agent went to the Humane Society to get her an emotional support dog, like I had mentioned. And they brought her to I won't say the name of the hotel, but it was one of the name brand top hotels that has conferences. And they put a service dog vest on her. And I'm not going to get into that discussion of if she should have had that on her or not, because there are a lot of opinions about that. But anyway, that's what happened. They had the service vest on her and they got her into this nice hotel. And she attended the workshops with Sarah. She would sit at the table in the front of the room with Sarah. One class that she taught was on animals in fiction. Garstein was part of that talk, as well as Sarah. And of course, the star of that was Aria. And, she was so funny. She puffed out her chest and she was protecting Sarah and observing the room. She's very attentive and very observant, as you can tell. She hears a dog barking off in the distance. Make that dogs. Two different houses. She sat on one of the chairs next to Sarah, but before long, she had her front paws up on the table, and then she was full fledged standing on their table. Everybody got just a real kick out of her. Long story short, we all fell in love with her and didn't want her to go back to the Humane Society. So Sarah asked if anybody was interested. Oh, she wants me to pet her. Hello, baby. And my hand shot up, unbeknownst to me as to why it went up. Actually, the real reason I probably put my hand up was because my daughter had been trying to get me to agree to a dog for about 8 years. We had a dog, and it turned out I was allergic to him. And I had taken allergy shots. Oh, no, baby girl. We're talking about you. Yes, we are. And it turns out that I was allergic to dogs, got my shots. I had to have an epinephrine pen that I carried with me. And long story short, again, it was determined that I was just mildly allergic to dogs. And I could probably tolerate a short haired dog that didn't shed a whole lot. And yes, I could have gone the route of a hypoallergenic dog, and I probably should have. But once I met Aria, I was in love, and I got to do babysitting services while Sarah made plans with her agent to go to dinner. And Aria and I bonded. That was kind of a trial period to see if I wanted to adopt her, because I had finally said yes to my daughter that she could, after 8 years, have another dog. She went down to the Humane Society and picked out this dog that she fell in love with. She does that with animals. She'll just pick one out, and then she knows that animal is the one. She does that with horses. She does that with dogs and cats. And needless to say, we have a lot of animals in our family. Different story. But where was I going with this? Anyway, I had told her yes, and she had me come down to the Humane Society. We looked at the dog, and then it was the next day she went to go back and fill out the paperwork because I guess they were getting ready to close or something. Well, she got there a little late because she's not an early riser. She went there to adopt the dog, and I guess the dog needed to be fixed and things, so it wasn't likely that she would just take the dog home. But when she got there, somebody else right before her adopted the dog. It was horrible. My daughter cried and cried because here, after 8 years, I finally had agreed. Yes, she could get a dog. I love dogs, but I was worried about my allergies and having her in the house. I texted her and asked her, hey, would you like this dog? Sarah very graciously said that she would pay for the dog to come back with me. I said, how about we split it? So that's what we did. We split the cost of Aria coming back to North Carolina with me. Ironically, Sarah lives in North Carolina as well. Oopsie. Let me have that. You don't need that on. You're being such a good girl. Yes, you are. We had 2 spare days. I know he's on my lap again, wanting attention and love and snuggles because she's spoiled rotten and well loved. We ended up taking one of our days. Really, it was about a day and a half out of two to go to the Humane Society and do all the paperwork. It was not an easy thing. It was very congested, very hot and humid, and kind of miserable because we had just gone on a helicopter ride before that, and it made me very sick. I was sprawled out on a bench just begging and wishing these people could hurry up and help us do this paperwork. Nothing was clear. Like you needed to do A, B, and C. But the whole process, as I said, took a day and a half. We had to go buy her a crate and a travel kit. We had to book a ticket for her. And it was just kind of a big ordeal, but so well worth it. The person I was with in Kauai was excited that we were getting the dog, but less than excited about spending our spare days trying to adopt her. Needless to say, that person's not in my life anymore. And probably Kauai had a big part of the reason why. I brought her home to my daughter. She got to fly a week after us because they don't have rabies in Hawaii. She needed to get a rabies shot. She needed, come back over here. Come over here so we can see you. Yes, you're a good girl. She needed some kind of shot that took 5 days quarantine maybe before she could fly. She flew out later, and I had to go to the airport to pick her up. It was just kind of funny because, like, as there is right now, there were leaves all over the ground because we had already had fall. Gosh, I can't quite remember. It seems like it was in November and all of our leaves about that time or maybe early December had fallen. She had never seen fallen leaves before. It's warmer there and the trees keep their leaves. So she was afraid to walk in the leaves and was very curious about smelling them. It was very cute. And her first snowfall was fun as well because she would step out in it and her feet were hypersensitive and she would try to hop over it. And believe me, we just get a dusting here in North Carolina where I live because we're in the South. I don't think we've had snow in about 3 years, and I hope I didn't just jinx that. She's not real familiar with snow, and that was just a lot of fun. Anyway, my daughter and I picked her up. I think my daughter took off school that day, of course, and we went and got Aria. She was so excited to get out of that crate because that was a really long flight, especially for a dog in a cage. Now I have to say that she does not like kennels. I don't know if it was because of the flight, but she gets panicked in them or she'll chew on them. One time she got anxious at my ex husband's house. She pushed that cage, I don't know, 15 feet and tumbled down the steps in her cage. She also gnawed at the cage one time and broke her canine tooth. So we don't cage her. I never really caged her much at my house. Maybe that was the problem. I did in the beginning, but then she was always so good and she never peed on the rugs and she was always good at my house. But my ex husband had carpets and she would urinate on them. So that's why they put her in the cage over there. But I guess she had gotten that sense of freedom too at my house and then didn't want to go back into the cage. Anyway, here she is. She is now an emotional support dog for all of us. Not that we need one. My daughter went to college and left her behind, which all along I felt like she was my dog. I absolutely adored her, and this is called mother's love because I would have loved to kept her, but after saying no to my daughter for 8 years, it didn't seem fair to give the dog to myself, so I gave Aria to her. You hear the birds? In the meantime, she moved on and is in college. She did not take Aria with her, so she's now mine. My daughter still threatens in 4 years to come and take her back, but that's not fair. So we'll have to figure that out when she's finished with her college. But I don't really foresee her taking her back. But anyway, this is the story of my kawaii dog. I just find it intriguing. In my family, we have one rescue dog. I have two rescue cats, which one of them is my daughter's. And again, I inherited her. My daughter had a rescue cat at her father's house. That cat went with her to college and she's staying in an apartment. Then she rescued two kittens from the side of a highway, and now she's got three rescue cats at home. We also have two horses. One is definitely a rescue. The other one, he was a wild horse off the Outer Banks on an island, and he needed to be rehomed because his person wasn't able to keep him and he was back at the foundation. So he's not really a rescue, but maybe you could call him that. So we have a whole family of rescues. Please let me know your story. Let me know how many rescue animals you have. Rescues are important in my family, in my life. If you notice in all of my books, I usually have some kind of feral animal, wild horses as a backdrop, feral cats. High Tide has feral cats that would come to her door and she would feed them and give them water. And Coffee Break had a feral dog. Island Summer definitely had horses in it. Really, all those books did. The wild horses. I'm trying to think. In Island Summer, it seemed like there was a feral cat. Yes, there was. There was a feral cat because the feral cat preferred the hero as opposed to her, and she was the one feeding the cat and got upset by that, which I don't blame her. And Coastal Christmas, there may or may not be a feral dog in there. Actually, I'm not sure that it was actually feral, but I'm not gonna give that away because It's part of the ending. Let's see. I totally just ruined that, didn't I? The whole ending. It's not the main portion of it. And I wrote Saving Nevada, which is about a wild horse that was gathered in the Nevada mountains by the government and put in a holding facility. About 80 of them, maybe not counting the youth division, get pulled out of the holding facilities. They place them with trainers who enter a contest to train a horse in 100 days from wild to mild. There's also this cantankerous turkey that's feral that shows up at their farm. I love that turkey because it kind of reminds me of Charlotte's Web. There's this whole farm life story kind of going on behind the scenes of the main story where she's trying to train this wild horse that doesn't want to be trained. It's a very heartwarming, one of the most emotional books I've ever written, and the most rewarding. It was one of those stories that I had to write. However, since it was in the first person and in my mind, we changed it to based on a true story, but all the events in there are true. Check that out. Actually, it's on sale on Amazon for $2.99 until Saturday. But if you watch this video later, then it will be off sale. But if you were to look at it today, when you see this video, it will be $2.99 for the ebook. I believe that's about it. That's my story, my tale about wild animals. I would love to hear yours in the comments. You can always email me at lorihayesbooks@gmail.com. I just would love to hear your stories. Who knows? Maybe someday I would write a story about one of your wild animals or feral animals, like I did Saving Nevada. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. Come here, Arya. Come say goodbye. Come say goodbye to everybody. All right, have a great day, and I'll see you next Friday.